Let's see if we're on both platforms here. Okay, I think we're on YouTube, and I don't see anybody on Rumble, but presumably here we're live on Rumble. So welcome, my friends, welcome. We are, of course, on the live stream and on a holiday Christmas weekend coming up in a couple days. So I'm sure many of you are distracted and you may not be interested in this topic, but the video itself was doing well on the guerrilla tactics. And so I need to really make sure that you understand that, because if you make a mistake and misunderstand what I'm saying, you're going to actually screw it up. So maybe I oversimplified, and that's what I want to do today, is to make sure we kind of refine the tips that I made in that video. And it may require another video, to focus on the phone side. Maybe that'll be the next video. I'm not certain yet. Depends on what we cover today, and then I'll decide if I need to explain it further in that video. So, different format today. Instead of me giving a speech for 30 minutes and then doing Q&A, we're going to do Q&A from the beginning, because now I already have some preset questions here, so I'm going to answer those, and then if I get beyond that, then you can ask your own questions. Okay, so again, welcome, and this is a standard live stream that I do every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So that's minus 8 time zone. So just for you guys trying to compute where you are. So so minus 8. Now the video, let me summarize the video if you haven't seen it. The video says Guerrilla Tools to counter social media. Guerrilla Tools in social media to counter big tech. So that's the title of the video that I made, and there were some questions on that. And some people said, I'll get back to this, after the holidays, and really watch this carefully. And it's actually a good idea not to rush into it, because you probably will mess up. Because if you don't understand what I'm saying, then some of you will probably do the wrong thing. There's some comments on there that suggest that some people didn't really understand what they're talking about. Things like, I got a Faraday bag, or I get a potato chip bag, and all you have to do is put the phone in there and then you're done. It's like, wrong. Okay, you can't just take your existing phone. Again, let's make sure we are clear here. You can't just take an existing phone and put it in a Faraday bag or a potato chip bag and carry it around with the potato chip bag and say, I'm safe now. Because you haven't changed anything. So once you take out the potato chip bag, then all the signals synchronize, and then Google's made aware of everything else. So everything is reset back to normal, and you're identified very clearly, and you're just messing yourself up. There's no advantage. If you're not understanding the actual problem, then you are going to mess up. Okay. So one of the things that I said in there is create a new identity. So this is really tied to the phone problem, and like I said, maybe this deserves a special video just to highlight the phone aspect of this. So you have, let's say you're on Twitter, you're on various platforms, you're on various Google platforms, you're on YouTube, you're talking on YouTube, you're on Facebook, you're everywhere else. Okay, so the typical normie. Everywhere on social media. You're on TikTok, you're on this, that, you're on Snapchat, Instagram, and so on. And then you said, I watched the Rob Braxton video, and he said create a new identity so I can speak freely, but without the fear of my identity being tracked and put into a cohort by big tech, meaning Facebook and Google, where that can be categorized and where they can map me and they know exactly where I live. And they can actually knock door to door and say, all the such and such people of this sort are over here. Okay, which they can do today. This is not a joke. This is pretty serious stuff. For example, there are parents targeted for, fighting the school board because they disagree with the school board, and now they're marked as domestic terrorists. I mean, without any kind of violence, because they're angry, they spoke out at the school board meeting, and they're now marked by the FBI as domestic terrorists. And now here, Google, and don't worry, Google works with the FBI. So if you're saying, well, that's Google, the FBI doesn't have anything to do with that, wrong. I'm sure there are FBI agents having regular meetings with Google to identify all these people and so on. And you wonder why they haven't found the phones in the area in the Idaho murders, the Moscow, Idaho murders. Geofencing. You kind of wonder about that. So I don't know. Maybe the police there are not at that level where they understand that kind of problem. Okay, so back to what we're talking about. So what we're talking about now is you want to set up a new identity, and you're not really careful yet. You didn't pay attention to my video in a very deep way. You did a cursory watch, and you said, Rob Braxman said, let me set up a new Google ID, and then that'll be my new identity, and then I'll do all my politicking and all my loud stuff on Twitter and everywhere else on that ID without really paying attention to what I said. So you set up your ID, and the biggest mistake that you're going to make is that it's going to ask you for two-factor authentication. Okay? So it's going to ask you for two-factor authentication. It's required because you can't set up Gmail now without two-factor authentication. They implemented that a few months ago, where now you're required to do two-factor authentication. They were requiring it sometime before, but now they're required of every Gmail account to have two-factor authentication. Some of my accounts did not require two-factor authentication. Maybe it's grandfathered, but if you set up a new one, they will require two-factor authentication. And then you didn't think about it. What are you going to do if you don't think about it? You're going to give them the same phone number. You're going to give them the same phone number. And so what's going to happen? And you say, well, it's just a phone number. Well, no, it's not just a phone number. Okay? They will actually activate on the phone. All normie phones have a Google app in there, because who doesn't use anything Google on a phone? So you can have a Google app in there because you're doing YouTube and Google Docs and Google Drive and Google this and Google that and Google Translate and Google Earth and Google Maps and whatever other Google you have in there. There's a Google code in there, and that code is going to be attached to that phone number, but beyond that is going to get the IMEI of the phone. Okay, you didn't understand the significance of that. So it got the serial number of the phone. So you set up a brand new account. Well, it should be obvious that your old account and your new account are the same. It doesn't take a genius AI to figure this out. Okay, they're going to find out that two accounts are the same. So what are you going to do on the new account? Well, I'm going to do opposite day on the new account. I'm going to be, I'm right wing on this account. I'm going to be left wing on this account. I'm going to go click on CNN and so on this account so that Google knows I'm left wing. Wrong. Wrong. You just wasted your time. Why? Because you didn't think this through. The phone is the main identity. This is the thing I've been repeating over and over, this 2FA business. It's about the phone. The phone is the number one identity. You can cover many things, but there's not much you can do on the phone side. Once you give them a phone number and they require you to use a Google app, and they're going to check the Google app on the phone, you're done. They have the IMEI. It doesn't matter now what you do on the phone. First of all, the Google ID may be different, but they're going to make the match and say, oh, that Google ID is the same as this Google ID because it's the same IMEI. So we know it's the same person. In fact, we can verify it. It's the same IP address and obviously the same phone number. So if you think about that and you say, you just wasted your time. You didn't really create a different identity. So this is really important. You need to really plan before you even do anything. Say to yourself, what am I going to do with the phone? Okay, some of you are going to say, well, this guy is going to push his Brax 2 phone again, and he's going to force me to buy a Brax 2 phone. And I don't have money to buy a Brax 2 phone right now, so I can't do anything about that. So what can I do? Okay, no. Look, I'm going to give you tips. You don't have to get a Brax 2 phone. I mean, it's convenient. It's convenient as heck because you don't have to think about a lot of the details if you have a Brax 2 phone. If you have a Brax 2 phone, you don't have to think about anything. You can almost immediately create a new account with a Brax 2 phone. Why? Because there's no Google ID on the Brax 2 phone. So the phone is disconnected from anything. In fact, there's nothing you have to do special with a Brax 2 phone or any Google phone with no gaps. Okay? So you don't have to use Brax 2. You can use something else. You can use a Linux phone. These are phones that do not have a Google ID. Any phone without a Google ID is perfect. This does not include like iOS, which has a Google ID. So you don't count that. So phones with a Google ID are not good. Phones without a good Google ID are good. Okay, so since most of you have a phone with a Google ID or Apple ID, which is the same thing. So Google ID, Apple ID, you're zucked. Okay? You can't use that same phone on the second account. You cannot. I just want to make that clear. You cannot. The moment you do that, you've just wasted time. You can, however, do it on a Google phone or Brax 2 phone. If you have a Brax 2 phone, you can set up as many accounts as you want. The phone does not exist in terms of Google's eyes, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so the only phone that actually doesn't require any special action is a Google phone because you don't have to think about anything. You can do whatever you want. Now, you do need a VPN. But other than that, you don't really have to think about anything. I don't have any special instruction. I don't have any special instructions for you when you have a Google phone because it's already safe by nature. Now, let's say that you do not have a Google phone. You have your existing phones. Chances are you have a family with many people with phones in there. And you're saying to yourself, how do I do this without spending money? So I'm going to give you some options so you can think about that. I'm not here to keep telling you to spend money. I'm here to teach you. So to lower the risk of identifying, who the phone is in association with a social media account, just use a different phone number. Now, chances are you have kids. Chances are you have somebody in your household who doesn't use the phone in the same way you do, perhaps not having the same social media accounts. So, for example, a kid may not have, your Facebook account. Hopefully you don't have Facebook. So let's not use that as an example. That's really bad. But let's say, just Gmail. So if you are asked to do two-factor authentication and you want to use a phone number that's different, well, start out with maybe your kid's phone number. Or maybe your spouse doesn't use social media very much and the phone number is not very known. Okay, I'll tell you the fear. The fear is that the phone number may be in a contact list, and the contact list may have been uploaded to Gmail, to Google, to Facebook, Twitter, wherever the contact list may have been uploaded to. So think about the phone number. If the phone number is well known, you can always change the phone number. I mean, how hard is it to change, let's say, your kid's phone number? How hard is it to change that? Not very hard at all. So you have a main number that maybe you don't want to change, but maybe some of these newer numbers are not so important and you can change them and then use that temporarily as 2FA so you don't have to spend extra money. Now, if you really want to do it right, then you should get a second SIM card and some old phone, unless you have, a Brax 2 phone with two SIM cards. Then you can use just one phone. But I'm sure some of you have some old phone. Take the old phone, put a SIM card in there, and that'll be your 2FA phone. And that costs more money because you got to pay monthly, $15 a month, something. Okay? It's low usage, so you don't have to have some expensive phone, but just a different phone number, a phone number that is not known by your contacts. It's really that simple. Have a phone that's not known by your contacts. Now, let's say you do set up, a new social media, a new Google ID, new Gmail, and you associated this phone, either your kid's phone or some other unused phone with a new phone number on it. It doesn't matter which one. Okay. The idea is that phone must not be seen by Google in action. So if let's say your kid is using the phone, then Google will definitely see that phone in action and will be tracking that. But kids probably have, especially very young kids, will have minimal activity that can be tracked by Google. That's not related to Google Docs and stuff in school. So temporarily that could be low risk, but the best is really is to have a separate phone number. So that's what you should aim for, is to have a separate phone number to use for 2FA. And there's really no choice. You got to get a SIM card and get that phone number. So, Google does not accept voice over IP. So you really have no choice but to get an actual SIM card. This is part of their trick. Now, the idea is that if you do this, the phone should not be used because, it's leaking Google telemetry and all that. So it must not be used. You just use it for 2FA, then you shut it down. It must not have any activity on there so that they can't profile it to do anything. It must not be doing anything. If you're constantly using that phone and doing email on it, defeats the purpose. The point is the phone number should be clean so they can't profile it. Okay, so it's not supposed to be an active phone. Again, none of this matter in a de-Googled phone. If you have a de-Googled phone, you can do whatever you want, put on the same phone because the phone is invisible. This is really the advantage of a de-Googled phone because you don't really have to do anything special. And so for convenience, you're very powerful with the de-Googled phone because you can do whatever you want and the phone does not exist. Like, I look at my phone, it doesn't exist on Google at all. Okay, and if you do not run any kind of Google on it like Gmail, if you run Gmail, you're sending your IP address, so it'll show up in security that this device with this IP address is being used. They don't know it's a phone necessarily, but it's sending an IP address just like a computer. So it's best not to put anything Google on a phone. But even if you do, it's if you're running a VPN or cell data, then the effect is really very minimal. So yeah, you got to understand that connection between the phone and everything else. This is the big issue. It's people not understanding that you can't do anything until you resolve the phone problem. So save your old phones. Save your old phones. If you're, Braxton is 420. Braxton is 420 plus shipping, so 431. So Braxton is a brand new phone. And then we have the used Pixels where we install whatever LunarOS, whatever de-Googled OS on it. So if you want a regular looking phone, then we have the Pixels. We carry Pixel 3As, 4As, and then all the XL sizes of that. Pixel 5, and then starting next week we'll be carrying Pixel 6. Okay, so that's next week. So yeah. So anyway, I'm not, you can do whatever you want as far as on the phone side. It's not important that I try to sell a specific phone. It's more important that you understand what I'm talking about. So the Google phones by nature are not identifiable to Google. I mean, it should be obvious they don't have a Google ID. You never log in with anything on a the Google phone, so obviously Google doesn't have a way of tracking that. So that is really the secret. Okay, so now the it's not just a phone number. See, this is the issue that most people don't realize. So you use the same phone. You could obviously change the SIM card, put a new SIM card in there. It could be a different phone number, but the IMEI might match. Because once a regular phone, that is, once a normie phone gets connected to Google, Google acquires the IMEI of the phone. Okay, and then once they have that, then you put new SIM cards in and they can detect it's the same phone because it has the same IMEI. This doesn't work in Brax 2, by the way, because Brax 2, we spoofed the IMEI. So in fact, you can change the IMEI all day. I gave you instructions. I have a video that gave you instructions on how to change IMEI. So I believe Brax 2 is the only Google phone that you can change the IMEI on. I'm not aware of anything else because you can't change the IMEI on a Pixel. So I believe Brax 2 is the only phone that you can change IMEI on, and we freely give you instructions to do that if you want. Okay. Huawei is a problem. The point is that there's stuff hidden that you can't see. There's no Google code, but there's Huawei code. So what's your protection here? So now you got somebody in China tracking you, and you have no control over that. So if you don't know what's on the phone, tracking is possible, not only possible, but likely. So since Huawei is, used by Chinese citizens, and likely the tracking code is in there and built in. So China isn't going to allow you to have that. In fact, the Huawei store likely does not allow VPNs because China does not allow VPNs. Likely it's put on a proxy server VPN so they can track everything you do. So no. Of course, we can't really buy Huawei here in the U.S. So I don't have to worry about that. Mainly people in Europe are doing Huawei. So no, I mean, why would you want to do that? Yeah, it doesn't have a Google ID, but it has other IDs in there. So yeah, Samsung of course has a Google ID, so that's different category. But not a good thing to do. So you just stick to a standard Google phone with open source. That's really the important thing, is open source. Okay. So Brax 2 is open source. In fact, I've been linking the source code link in the description. I believe it's in today's description there too, because it was been asked a few times and I posted it there. So you can go in there and look at the source code if that's something you understand. So no secrets here. So the source code is there. You can go check it out. Okay, now Bear, a VPN. People misunderstand this. You need a VPN. Okay, of course, if you're in China, you're not allowed to use a VPN, but you need a VPN. But a VPN doesn't solve many problems. A VPN is for one purpose only. Two purposes. VPN, number one purpose for a VPN is to hide the IP address. Yes, IP address is an important thing that's used in tracking. It tracks your home because there's something called a reverse IP lookup, and they can look up your home address based on your DSL IP address because that's fixed. So anytime you have a fixed IP address, they can find the location, and then they can do a reverse IP lookup and know exactly where you live just from your home IP address. That's why the VPN is important. The other thing that happens is if you have a VPN, the carrier cannot see the traffic because all they see is encrypted traffic. Those are the two purposes of VPN. VPN does not have anything to do with location. VPN does not have anything to do with location. Yes, people sell data of VPNs and location, and that goes into a location database. And so you can do a reverse IP lookup because somebody tracked your location while using your IP address. Okay? A VPN, you can't do that because many people are using the same IP address at the same time. So there's multiple locations, so they can't come up with a fixed location. You also cannot do it with cell data because cell data is shared IP addresses. You're actually using an IPv6 address and you're only being routed to a few routers. So many of you are sharing the same IP address in IPv4. So it's not a risk in cell data. However, the benefit of a VPN in cell data is the encryption. So the two parts of it, encryption and IP address. It's nothing to do with stopping location tracking. Location tracking can occur with or without a VPN. It's not connected. But if you're cavalier with this, yes, they will find your location with your real IP address and you'll be sucked. Okay? Because there's no way to stop location tracking unless you have the right phone. How do you stop location tracking, guys? Again, the answer is so simple. Get a de-Google phone. The answer is so simple. Otherwise, there's no chance. If you have a normie phone, you're going to be tracked. There is no way around it. There's no way around it. Just, it's kind of boring because the answer is always simple. A de-Google phone doesn't allow any of this. The Google phone can only give location by permission to a specific app. Google can't track your location. You don't need a VPN if you have a de-Google phone as far as location is concerned. The purpose of a VPN is to hide your IP address. And if you don't want to pay for a VPN on mobile, you can use Orbot, which is Tor. Now it's extremely slow, but in an emergency, you can use that. It's very slow though, so it's not, it's not practical. So I wouldn't want you to suffer when you can have an inexpensive VPN where you can use normally. Okay, so you got to understand the connection between VPNs and phones and what they have to do with each other. And don't tell me that you buy my VPN and then you say, it still knows my location. Well, yes, because it has nothing to do with the IP address. The IP address is what is blocked, which is a very important piece of data. So if Google, okay, let me just answer this question too, because it's not clear. Okay, so again, it's called reverse IP lookup. So what is the situation here? The situation is you are home with your normal Wi-Fi, with your DSL, with a fixed IP address, and you got visitors. People borrowing your Wi-Fi. You got your like my sister. My sister comes here and screws up my network. Okay, so I put her on a VPN router because I don't trust my sister. So I never give my sister the actual IP, the actual Wi-Fi password of the normal network. She always has to go on the VPN network. The reason is she has location on and all that all the time, and she has a normie phone. And then she goes in there and some ad will capture the location, the IP address, and sell that. Now what? The company that's selling that now has a capability to identify location based on IP address because they'll have a history of this, and they'll say, oh, this IP address is associated with this location. And it's not changing, so it must be the right location. Okay? So, yeah, kind of a different problem, but, it's really important to understand that. So when I give you the Guerrilla Tools, I gave you several things to have to think about. And the main gist of what I was trying to do in the video is how to prevent the Google ID from revealing who you are. It was focused on a Google ID. I wasn't really focused on location tracking and all that. That's a different subject matter. But as far as the identity, the Google ID is very important to obfuscate. And that's why the techniques are take care of the phone problem in some way, either unused phone, a temporary phone number that's different, 2FA that's different, the Google phone, some option like that. Okay, Faraday bag on an inactive phone. Browser isolation to make sure that the Google ID doesn't go spread to other websites, and a VPN to prevent them from doing a match by IP address. Those are like the key elements there. And then of course have a different Google ID. So those are like the primary key ones. And the idea is that the Google ID is isolated. Okay, now let me take a short break here just before we continue this. And just a sponsor break. And the sponsor is Linode. Now, Linode has a special. So Linode is, of course, a company that sells you cloud services. So you can have cloud servers, like if you want a WordPress server, you want to have your own website, you want your own store, you want your own various Linux-based open source kind of things that you can do on Linux. You can go to a company like Linode, and they have some inexpensive servers in there. For low traffic use, $5 a month. Shared server, $5 a month. I mean, just even for learning. If I'm a student and I want to learn how to make servers and have the skill set to be setting up Linux servers, $5 a month. That's affordable, and it allows you to learn. And then you can start setting up servers for other people and learn how to set up WordPress servers and so on. So if you're interested in doing that, you go to Linode and you say /Rob Braxman, and they're going to give you $100 credit, which you can use for up to 2 months. So basically, you can set up many servers in 2 months. By the way, $5 is $5 for 30 days of use. So if you only use the server for 15 days, you actually only pay $250. So it's pretty inexpensive. So especially for somebody like setting up a server, then killing it, setting it up, killing it, it's a very inexpensive process. And then when you figure it out, you say, okay, I know how to do this now. I'm going to set up a server for somebody and make money from doing that. And then you can set up their own Linode account. So anyway, that's fairly inexpensive way of learning. So that's Linode. They're my sponsor, and now it's called Akamai Linode because they were bought by Akamai, and they're expanding. They're going to double their data centers. So just an FYI. So many changes happening there. Okay, let's how does one know if Stingray is being used on them? Now, it's not related to this topic, but I'm happy to answer that. There are some apps that can tell you, basically look for apps that tell you what cell tower you're on. Many apps like that. So you, I can't think of a specific app right now. What do I have on my phone? There were so many that I researched. Some of them are pretty hard to use. Let's see if I have one here that I can look at in an obvious way here that I can remember. Here, phone. This one's called Phone Signal. Okay, that's the name of the app, Phone Signal. Okay, so what is? How do you know you're being Stingrayed? Stingray is pretty common nowadays. In fact, a lot of hackers use Stingray. If you drive around Washington D.C., you're likely going to be Stingrayed by some foreign government, not just some three-letter agency. Foreign governments are very fond of using Stingray. You pass by some embassy and they're going to Stingray you. Okay, I'm sure you pass by the Russian embassy, they're going to Stingray you. Okay, so how do you know? Well, what you do is you find out your normal cell tower. So establish a pattern. So if you go into the app and you say, what cell tower am I on when I'm on this location? Obviously, it's going to pick the strongest cell tower for your carrier. And you make a note of the ID of that cell tower. Okay. Now, the way Stingray works is they park a car outside of your house close by that sends a signal that's stronger than your cell tower. How is the signal stronger? Because they're nearer to you. The closer they are to you, then the stronger the signal. Okay? So if the signal's stronger, then you're going to find that your phone's going to switch to a different tower. And you're going to actually find, if you look in the tower assignment, that a stronger signal has been found. And it's, I would find that to be unusual if normally it isn't using that tower. So that's a pretty easy way of finding it. Okay. Your network drops down to 3G. I've seen your vid on it. Yeah, you can't do that in the US now, though. So there are 4G versions of Stingray. So the old approach to Stingray only works when there was 3G. But there's no 3G anymore. So they can't do that anymore. They need the 4G version of Stingray. It has a different name. It's not called Stingray. I forget the name of the sea creature. Okay, it's some other sea creature. Okay, it's not jellyfish, but I can't remember what the name is. But some other sea creature. Okay, so when the Stingray used to do it, the way they do it is they just downgrade you to 3G. Very simple to do. They de-authenticate you, and then your phone starts to reconnect, and then the Stingray device gives a message that basically says 4G is not running. So then you connect to 3G, and then they send a signal once you connect to 3G that says disable encryption. And there you go. You're pawned. Okay. So yeah. So that's the way that's done. There's a 4G version of LTE. So LTE itself is encrypted. So now they found some way with inside information, I'm sure, to solve that. So, yeah, so I'm sure they found a way to do that. So, anyway, that's something you need to worry about only if you're a surveillance target of the government. Otherwise, it's not an issue for normal people. How many cops abuse this power with well, I'm not sure Stingray is necessary to abuse power. Starlight here has family that was with the police, and you don't even need that anymore. Police have direct access to the Kalia system. So Kalia is the Communications Assistance for Law Enforcement Act. It's not even necessary to do Stingray anymore. You can spy on the phone directly, just having access online. So if you have access, if you're a police agency or any law enforcement, you can actually connect directly to the phone system of the carrier and do any number of things to do wiretapping. Okay, thank you, Great Gold Gifted Tech Memberships. Weren't you already a member? Thank you. So anyway, that's Stingray is not. You got to understand the value of Stingray. Stingray as a hack is useful when they don't know who owns the phone. They know the location. So let's say you're looking for somebody in an area, but you don't know who it is. Then you put a Stingray device in there. Stingray can detect every phone, and then they can intercept the phone. That's not the same thing as when somebody already knows the target. If you already know who the target is, and you know their phone number, you don't need any of that. Just go directly and listen in using the Kalia system built into every communication system, for every carrier. So it's probably standardized hardware now. So you can go to any carrier and say, I'm going to well, there's only, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon, and then intercept it there. Okay? So just so you know. Let's see. Okay, let me check the comments here on Rumble. The problem with Rumble is that I'm at the mercy of the editor of Rumble. They, when they're around, they share my videos. When they're not around, nobody watches my videos. I have, 19.3 thousand followers on Rumble, but they don't check videos. I don't really get that. It's not like YouTube. You have subscribers, they watch videos. On Rumble, they don't do it. They watch basically what the editor posts on the first page. So if the editor doesn't put me on the first page, then I don't get the views. And it's kind of frustrating. So, that's my frustration with Rumble. By the way, if you're on Twitter, no. I recommend that you go to Twitter. I'll tell you why. A couple of reasons. Okay, first of all, now we know. First of all, you can follow me on Twitter, Rob Braxman Tech, and you'll see me on Twitter. So if you want to speak freely, you can go to Twitter. In fact, I don't even use my real phone number for Twitter. I use Google Voice. And you can even use a YubiKey, so you're not necessarily required to have a phone number. In fact, if you have a new account, they don't seem to force it. So we're cool right now with that. So you can set up an account. They'd rather that you have a phone number because they're trying to catch bots. So I gave them Google Voice, and it's fine. It seems to work fine. Now, the thing about Twitter that is excellent is that Twitter doesn't really identify you. You give Twitter the information. You give the name you want to give. You give the email you want to give. And pretty much that's it. You give the phone number you want to give, if you give one. Twitter itself does not have the kind of profiling power of Facebook and Google or even Apple. They don't have that data. So there is not much they can capture. Now, they did sell phone numbers before. This was before Elon. They did sell phone numbers, so that's pretty evil. And the old Twitter was fined $200 million for that. So which I'm sure Elon has to pay now. Now, the reason that Twitter is really a great platform at this moment, and some of you are, kind of like Jim Carrey and some of these people, saying, I'm going to leave Twitter because, it's going right wing now, so I'm going to leave Twitter. Ignore that because there's a lot of people on both sides on Twitter. My feed is pretty well balanced. I get it from left and right, and I'm apolitical. I hate politics. Okay, but the point is that at this moment, I don't know of any platform that has no FBI collusion left. There is no FBI collusion anymore with Twitter. It's pretty cool. It's actually, free from intervention by the military with psyops and various things. It doesn't exist anymore. So that was revealed in the Twitter files, and now FBI no longer has access. So this is like perfect. Now I don't know why nobody ever thought about this, but now we know for sure that Twitter doesn't do any of that anymore, which is like lovely. So yeah, I'm feeling good about Twitter, because I'm not afraid to say anything now, because I know that some no zucking FBI guy is gonna go in there and profile me and do whatever. Well, they can still see my posts, but they don't have much information. So, and they're not gonna shut me up. Or shut you up. They probably can shut me up because they know who I am. How do I hide? They know who I am. I'm sure they can go knock on my door if they want. But you guys can. So I'm not. There's a risk for me doing this. By being on here, then certain parties can find me. Certainly, I can't hide from a government. So, given that, then Twitter is now the only platform I know of that is pretty much immune from psyops and all that, because all that was taken out, and that no longer exists over there. So yeah, so follow me on Twitter, Rob Braxman Tech. And if you're not on Twitter, maybe you should go to Twitter. It's, if you don't want to be silent, here's a place you can speak. You can speak all day. You can use YubiKey with Twitter, yes. So if you don't really want to give a phone number, just get yourself a YubiKey, then you're done. You'll never need to give a phone number. So you were banned and you're back now. Yeah, set up a new account if you want. Doesn't matter. So yeah, I'm liking Twitter. I don't have much interaction with Twitter because most of my old followers were from Periscope, and so I don't have a lot of new followers there. So I don't get a lot of traffic. I'm lucky to get 1,000 impressions. So come join. There's 388,000 of you here on YouTube. There's 20,000 of you on Rumble. There's 81,000 of you on Odysee. Come on, guys. Go on Twitter and keep me company. Because Twitter is now good. Yes. Doesn't matter what your site is. It's now good because there's no FBI anymore. They're not messing with us anymore. There's nobody there that is messing us up. That's controlled by some government. That's been pulled out. So I'm very happy about that. It's the only platform that's not now. YouTube, hell no. I mean, this is like totally censored here. There are many things I can't say here that I'm happy to say on Twitter. So if you want me to be like more open, I can be more, once I get the right amount of people in there, I can be more open there than I can be here. Okay? So I'm not able to really speak over here. So LOL, is he really on Twitter? Yes, I am on Twitter. KDB, I am Rob Braxman Tech. I've been there for a very long time, since 2013, mainly because I was on Periscope. Yeah, Great Gold is on Twitter, is always retweeting my videos. Thank you, Great Gold. So, but I don't have much of a presence. I have like 9,500 subscribers. I don't think I even have 9,500. Close to 9,500 subscribers or followers on Twitter, but most of them probably are inactive. So do I even have 1,000? Maybe not. So, those are from the old days from Periscope. Chances are there was 9,000 or, maybe there's 2,000 now. Okay, so I don't have much. Twitter's not my thing. Never was, never will be. Yeah, well, I'm saying, where can you speak? You can speak on YouTube? Not really. Where are you going to speak? So if you want to speak, you want a place to speak, I'm suggesting to you that Twitter is the place to speak. Okay? Because it's safe now. So subs don't mean anything anymore if they aren't watching. Right. Yeah. Especially if Starlight, if 90% of the people are from Periscope, nobody's watching anymore. They all left Twitter long ago. So I don't have many over there. So yes. So please subscribe to me on Twitter, and I'll be more open there, and you can you can be sure that I will respond to issues in a more direct way that I can't do here. Okay, because it's really hard here on YouTube because I only do one broadcast, which I feed to Rumble and Odysee. It doesn't matter that Rumble and Odysee will not censor me. YouTube will, and I only have one video. So so it's I don't. Some of you are some of you dislike Elon Musk, and so that's your excuse. Well. I don't, I don't care what you believe in. People abuse Elon Musk all day. So, if you don't like him, you don't like him. I happen to like Elon. I'm sure I'm on MySpace because you can't delete your account on MySpace. So I tried to delete my account on MySpace. But nobody knows what your account is on MySpace. If you don't publicize it, nobody knows what it is. But yes, I have an account on MySpace. There's no data in it, but I have an account on MySpace, and they won't let me delete that. Right. So now I haven't been to MySpace in 10 years, but I don't know what's on there now. Does it even exist? What if you create a new Google ID without giving them a phone number? They won't let you anymore. No, not used Xer, not use Xer. Yeah, I don't think they'll let you not use a phone number. So like I said, temporarily you can use some phone number that you know is hardly used in social media, and as a temporary thing, you can do that, and then worry about a more permanent number later on when you have the money to get a SIM card. Okay. MySpace is music-based platform now. It's always been music-based. Artists, special musicians love MySpace. I follow you on MySpace. Good luck with that, because how do you know what my username is on MySpace? Hello, Life Too Shorty. Speaking Orwellian is a bit awkward, Rob. Is that your language, Orwellian? Okay. Elon isn't perfect, but he has done much more good than others I can think of. Well, some of you don't like Elon, and you're free to choose whatever. I'm just being frank with you. I kind of like him. I liked him for a long time. It's not just because what he did on Twitter, because there's so many billionaires out there, and there's like Peter Thiel, who was partner of Elon. There's of course Zuck. There's all the Google, Sergey Brin and that whole bunch. Those kinds of billionaires. Then you got, your Apple billionaires, from Steve Jobs on, and you got Bill Gates and all this. They're all crazy. They're all like, into world domination. That seems to be their objective, world domination. They want to control everything. They want to be authoritarian. They want to put hooks into everything and control you. Like Bill Gates wants to do that. And Elon doesn't seem to want to do that. I'm telling you, I told you I have a Tesla, and it's partly to find out if the Tesla really spies on you. Happy to say it has not. So, it's equipped with sensors that can spy on you in theory, but it really hasn't done that. So I think it's not in their objective to do that, because that's part of the problem with a company like Facebook. Their mission statement is to spy on you. Well, I'm telling you that the way that Tesla has been designed is that it's supposed to work independently. It doesn't connect to HQ to study the environment. It looks at the environment through its own lens, and then the AI in the car decides what to do in the car. So everything is locally based. It's kind of like, voice recognition and all that is happening in the car. It's not being sent to Tesla. So these are all very positive things. Like it can probably spy on you in some aspects, and they may be able to ascertain your location, but that doesn't seem to be their mission statement. So I'll tell you if they start doing something like that. So at the moment they have not. So you can all wait for me to give you information of that sort, and happy to take the risk here. So yeah. So anyway, you many of you also don't like Teslas because you don't like electric cars. So, which is fine. You can do whatever you need to do. So, if depending on where you are, electric car may not have infrastructure where you are, in which case you may not like that. That's perfectly sound. That's a sound argument. Or I'm in the big city. And not only that, I'm in California, so there's like superchargers everywhere. And it's really, really convenient. I have to say it's more convenient than getting gas. So yeah. So for me, it's worked, but I'm not gonna impose that idea on you because it has nothing to do with privacy. So it's not a device of evil as a phone is. So I've had iPhones in the day, and then I discovered it was a spy machine. And I dumped it. So if I detect something like that, I'm happy to dump it too. What about EMF in electric cars? There's EMF everywhere. What does the electric car have that's unique? I mean, the EMF in your home is pretty high. So anyway, does your Tesla have LiDAR? No, that LiDAR was taken off. A Tesla only has camera. The LiDAR was taken off. It hasn't used LiDAR in 2 years. Yeah. Now the other brands, have LiDAR, like what's the name of those? Lucid. Yeah, those cars have Waymo, Lucid. Those all rely on LiDAR. But not Tesla. Tesla, the logic is, and this is part of the machine learning videos that I've done, is using only the eyes of the cameras to do AI based on eyes. So, and it can do three-dimensional. As you know, you guys have two eyes, and you can see three-dimensionally with the two eyes because you can see depth perception. A car has multiple cameras that's able to do that depth perception also by movement. So when a car is moving, it can do depth perception just by the moving. And so the camera, the AI has finally figured out that it doesn't need anything special like LiDAR to detect depth. It can do it by just watching how an image is growing smaller or bigger as the car moves, and then it's able to then identify that device. How do I discover if your phone is hacked? It's pretty hard to hack a phone, be true. So if you want to just be sure that it's not hacked, do a reset, and then at that point, it's no longer hacked. Okay? 99.99999% of people saying their phone is hacked. It is not hacked. What you have is a SIM jack attack, meaning they stole the phone number, or they're doing it via SS7, which is accessing it through the network. The phone itself is not hacked. So you got to understand the problem. The chances of a phone being hacked is very low because in order to hack a phone, you need physical access most of the time. It's very hard unless you're so stupid that you're installing every app. Okay? Limit the apps you install to popular apps. Chances of getting any rogue spyware, whatever, is very low. Okay? Obviously, if you have an open source OS, then it's even safer, like a Brax 2. So we preload only apps from a few companies. Most of our main apps are made by Simple Mobile. Simple Mobile is open source, so no spyware there. SS7 isn't made in heaven. Elon Musk's first name shows up in 1953 book about colonizing Mars. Really? Okay. You can hate him or like him. It doesn't matter to me. You can, I'm just saying that my idea of an evil billionaire is, Zuck. Zuck's probably the most evil. Peter Thiel is pretty evil. Peter Thiel is right wing. But Bill Gates is left wing. Very evil. Okay, so yeah, I mean, all those Google billionaires, evil. They said they don't do evil, but they are doing evil. So yeah, Elon hasn't really risen up to that. He just makes stuff. He likes to engineer things. I don't see this world domination thing in him. It's not. I don't see. He hasn't done anything that says I want to dominate the world. That's, he wants to sell you a lot of cars, but he wants to take you to Mars. But I don't see the sense that I want to control people kind of thing. I don't see that. But who am I? I'm nobody. Sassy Doe is going to complain about me and say, Sassy Doe is going to say something about, what I say here. So Sassy Doe will, if I don't toe the line in a particular way, Sassy Doe is going to comment. So, see what I said? So, yeah, Sassy Doe is a very specific thought process, and if you vary to that thought process, then you'll hear about it. Well, I am what I am, so I'm not a machine. I don't. I don't make statements blindly. I don't. Neither do I just exclude technology because I'm some sort of Luddite. So yeah, I'm not. I will experiment with things and then I'll judge based on what I see. And so, for example, Sassy Doe mentioned, that TikTok, has been touted as being bad. This is even during Trump times. Trump wanted to ban TikTok, and now some governments have wanted to ban TikTok as well. And okay, didn't say TikTok was a good thing. For one thing, socially, it's these are apps that ruin us and ruin our lives in a social sense. But the question was about privacy. What exactly is TikTok able to do? So the problem is that the level of spying that a TikTok can do is not anywhere near the level of spying that a Google or Facebook can do. It's not even close. So this is why I don't focus my attention on it. It's like, don't put TikTok on. So, end of story. It's not, I would never tell my family to go use TikTok. But, it's kind of limited in what it can capture because it doesn't control the phone. Whereas Facebook can control the phone, Google can control the phone, Apple can control the phone. Okay, those are very dangerous platforms in there. And somebody's going to say, well, but those are US and TikTok is Chinese. Yeah, I understand that. And there's a different danger being a Chinese app. But again, what information is being stolen from you by TikTok? Yeah, it can steal information. It can steal IP addresses and locations, for example. Yeah, it can do that. Can it really profile you? Can it really profile you? What does it really know? What you're clicking on TikTok? So you watch some girls dancing, some new dance moves on Twitter. I don't have any TikTok. I just see some TikTok videos on YouTube. I do not have TikTok, so I don't know what you do on TikTok. So, from what I see, it's a lot of dance videos. So you're cool. You're dancing on TikTok, and you click on that, so they know you did that. Beyond that, okay, so they captured your user ID, your IP address, and your location. That's pretty bad, yeah. But compared to, they can only do that when you're running TikTok. Compared to what's running on Apple, Google, on the phone, I mean, we're like, it's like this much. So Instagram is likely worse than TikTok, because Instagram is tied to Facebook. Facebook is pretty evil. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the fact that it's owned by China is very bothersome, but maybe it's more of a political statement and what can actually do, to you. So yeah, I certainly don't recommend you go on TikTok. But let's worry more about the bigger problems. That's all I'm saying. Let's just worry about the bigger problems. So many people do their banking on their phone now. Yeah. How secure is Neuralink? I don't know if it's secure at all. Neuralink is supposed to, this is a theoretical thing since nobody has one, but Neuralink is supposed to connect by radio. I asked Elon, he didn't respond to me, but I asked him on Twitter. Of course, he's not going to respond to me. But seriously, Neuralink. So you're talking by radio. Obviously, something can intercept that. So I don't know how you can have this thing say, who controls the interface? There's many, many questions. The moment you expose something to radio, it's really opens up to many, many dangerous things. So would it be better if everyone just started to use Tor? Well, you don't use Tor. What do you think about Facebook acquisition of CTRL Labs in 2019? I don't know what CTRL Labs is. Maybe something I need to research there. You like Brave browser? I actually do. I have a very positive video about Brave browser, but the idea is to have many browsers. I use all of them. The more question should be how many browsers should you have or can find. Now I don't like Firefox. Firefox made a political statement, and they became too political. And I don't like that, just like DuckDuckGo started censoring, again, because of politics. So, because of that, my favorite choices for browsers are typically Chrome for Google, obviously for Google. Chromium is open source. Yes, I know Chromium is the basis for Chrome. I know that, but there's no Google stuff in Chromium. Chromium is also the basis for Edge, and it's the basis for Brave. It's the basis for many of these other browsers. But Chromium is the raw one. And so Chromium is Google free. So you can use Chromium as your other option for a Google free browser, and then you can also use Brave. So my top three are Chromium, Brave, and Chrome for Google. And if you need more browsers, then obviously you can have Firefox, Firefox, Safari, and I don't know if you use Edge. Waste of time probably. I'm on Linux. I don't have access to Safari or Edge. Lucky me. So I'm fine with Brave. So my fourth browser is Firefox, which I can't say I use as much as I do Chromium. So Chromium is the primary one that I use. But the Brave guy also made political statements. He did? Is he censoring? I don't know. I don't think Brave is doing any kind of censoring. Are you saying Brave is the guy on the right? Why do they do politics? I don't get that. You can just make your Zucking product and just, keep politics out of it, because then we know your biases. Hate that. So that's why I think Firefox lost, 25-30% of their user base because of all the politics. DuckDuckGo did the same thing. So, if you want to avoid all that, go use startpage.com. Startpage is fine. I had an association with Startpage. Startpage was my sponsor for a little bit. and I'm still in touch with them. They're actually they're good people. I like them. So I'm sure they'll be a future sponsor again. Yeah, start page instead of DuckDuckGo. So I like that. What about Bromite? I don't actually know Bromite, but like I said, use as many browsers as you want. LibreWolf, you can use as many browsers as you want. I'm just telling you what I use. There's no limit here. The only one that I tell you not to use is Opera. Okay, you don't need Opera sending your data to proxy server and tracking you in China. So Opera is Chinese, so dump that. So I only like to associate myself with good companies. I don't like to promote companies that if it's kind of fishy to me and I don't trust them. So I did tell the people at Session that I'm going to do a video about them. Session is a private messenger that is a lot better than Signal. A lot better than Signal. Maybe not as easy to use as Signal, but from a privacy point of view, if I want a super secure, hardened, full-featured messenger, Session is excellent. Normally, I'd say use XMPP, but XMPP is not full featured. There's the features depend on the server. It depends on the client you use, so it's not 100% all the time with capability. But yet you have Session. Session works on all platforms, which is pretty amazing, and it's much more secure and has no metadata compared to Signal. So I'm going to do a video in January maybe about Session. I'm going to recommend, if you want to use a hardened messenger, to use Session. So yeah, I've often looked at them and said, this is a up and coming company. When I made a video about this 2 years ago, so this is this is looking good. This is this is going to be this is going to look nice in the future. Well, what they did was, since I did that video, they're now on all platforms. Pretty amazing. So I like them a lot. So yeah, much better than Signal. So, and Signal dropped the support for SMS. So that's one of the benefits of Signal. Now they don't have a benefit anymore. Okay. What else? Nice to still see you here doing the right thing on this platform. Darudas, I'm not able to do the right thing on this platform. They don't let me. I'm always so careful here. So follow me on Twitter, where I can say more things than I can say here. Can a Google Pixel 7 be de-Googled? Not sure. Check out the Calyx website if they can. We de-Google up to a Pixel 6. Pixel 6 we use Calyx. Pixel 5 and below we use LunarOS. And then of course Brax 2 uses BraxOS. So this uses BraxOS. So yeah, so check Calyx. There, people there are much more attuned to new versions of Pixel, so they tend to buy it. Yes, it can. Fyodor says it can be. Is that with Calyx? What's the OS? Just put the first initial of it. You don't need to tell me which one. 6S. What's the 6S? 6A. I don't know about a 6A. I've done a 6 and 6 Pro. Yeah, what OS are you using? Calyx or G? A thought on EOS? I don't have much of a thought on EOS. EOS is selling the same phone. So, they're selling this too. Oh, they have Lineage. Oh, good. Yeah, it's even better. Okay. So, yeah. So you don't need E because you can get it from me. They're selling the same phone. Okay, so they're also using LunarOS. They just started doing that, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. We want to promote the open source platform, and they're mostly selling in Europe. But yeah, so you don't need to look at EOS if you're in the US. You can just get this from me. Okay, so yeah, so I'm happy to see that Lineage can do 7. Is it bug free? Because sometimes when it's new, it's buggy. So I'm really happy to hear that. So okay, maybe I need to start looking at doing a Pixel 7. So starting next week, I'm going to have Pixel 6 in stock. However, the problem with those phones, the Pixel phones are used. This is brand new. So we have more control over this, and we have better service opportunities with a Brax OS. So what they are selling Brax phones, they're not selling. They're selling the hardware with a variation on LunarOS like I have here. So this is Brax OS. They're likely getting a fork of LunarOS. They're not selling Brax phones per se. Okay? Because this is Brax OS. But it's very similar because it's using LunarOS. Like I am. Okay? So, yeah, as you know, I'm an advisor with the Good Phone Foundation, which is making LunarOS, which Brax OS is a fork of, and the source code is in the description. Yeah, the Brax OS has a lot of advantages because obviously we control it. We can do many things that we can't do with Lineage. So one of the advantages of Brax OS over, let's say, Lineage OS is that if you reset a Brax OS phone, it retains all the apps that we pre-installed. It retains microG. microG is built into the OS itself. microG and Aurora are built into the OS, so you don't have to worry about doing a reset. You can reset all day, and obviously we can update the phone for unlimited period of time because we have the programmers to do it. They're part of the open source LunarOS. That's not the same with Lineage OS. Lineage OS is based on volunteers. The volunteers are by phone. So if the volunteer on a Pixel 3 says, I don't want to do Pixel 3s anymore because I bought myself a Pixel 7, then Pixel 3 will no longer get support. You see, because you're up to one person, whoever is the volunteer. So, yeah. Yeah, so my ROM has T-Shark, my ROM has Metasploit. The ROM itself, but why would be hacking tools be built into the ROM? I mean, that's pretty specialized. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I have much more control over Brax too. But I just want people to be using the Google phones. Doesn't matter what you use. You can make them yourself. We can do it for you. We have a flashing service here, and the flashing service is $130 for us to flash for you. Bring your own phone. We flash it for you as long as it's one of the supported OSs. And if it's supported, then we can do it for you if you don't know how to do it. If you know how to do it, then do it yourself. I'm very happy for you to do that. I'm not going to tell you that you should come to me if you can do it yourself. But, for people, it's maybe a waste of time, and they don't want, even if you're techie, it's time consuming. And especially if you're a high level programmer, you're not going to want to spend time doing that because it's very time consuming. It's so specialized. And if you screw up, you brick the phone. So yeah, we can do it for you. So for $130, we do it for you. So I have staff that does it. I don't do it myself. My staff does that. Let's see. When a fork, tech, or hardware combos gonna get messy at the end. I'm not sure I understand the comment. Okay. MicroG allows Google ID login with no ban risk. No, I do not use a Google ID on MicroG. Do not do that. Although you're given the option on MicroG to log in with your Google ID, do not do that. Do not do that. It gives you a anonymous login. You do not need to do anything. Merry Christmas, Rob 86079. See, I can't even. Yeah, the way we install, MicroG and Aurora Store, and the way we teach you to use it is use anonymous login. That's the way you do it. No Google ID. The worst thing you can do is put your Google ID in there. Don't do that. How do I feel about LunarOS without gaps? It's fantastic, Space Gaucho. So if you don't have a phone like this one comes with Brax OS, and you want to do it on a Pixel, yes, I would recommend LunarOS with no gaps. That's good enough. You don't need any, don't believe some of these fancy claims. Oh, you need the, this other more secure OS, such and such, and it's a lot of BS actually, a lot of that. But if you want another option, I also like Calyx. Calyx runs fine. And Calyx is pretty much the same. It, has Aurora Store and MicroG and all that. So it runs exactly as you would expect, and probably easier to reset than a LunarOS. But LunarOS is perfectly fine. Especially if you do it yourself, it's fine. MicroG allows you to be tracked. MicroG is not going to allow you to be tracked if you don't put your fucking Google ID. Goodness, look at the source code for MicroG. Have you seen the source code? It's stubs. Do you actually know what you're talking about, Fyodor? Did you actually go to MicroG and look at the source code? Well, I have. Okay, so if you look at the source code for MicroG, what they do is they stub the function. So a lot of the telemetry is actually stub code. They don't go anywhere. Go look at the source code. MicroG is very safe. Just don't put your Google ID in there. You worried about being tracked? Just stop using your phone. Yeah, right. How do you do that when you're required to do 2FA with Google? Stop using your phone. Well, I can't use Google. Okay. I'm going to use a computer. They won't let you. So yes, you got to have an answer. The answer is go to Google. Come on, Fyodor. Go to MicroG website and you'll see the source code. Do I need to do that for you? Yeah. So yeah, don't rely on false promises from people who say, oh, there's a better solution than MicroG. We're gonna do sandbox nonsense. It's the same thing. They basically copy the MicroG code, turn it around, change little permissions, and say, oh, this is called a sandbox now. So yeah, so there's some who would say that, and it's really the same thing. So if you actually look at the source code for MicroG, it's actually quite simple. The functions that do, like for example, Google Safety Net and all that, they just stub it. Stub means it doesn't go anywhere. It's basically non-operational code, and that's how they do stuff. So the app, let's say you're running let's say you're running Waze. We pre-install Waze even though it's Google because it doesn't have a Google ID. and you connect to the Google services, and it says, okay, I'm going to connect to Google services and send telemetry, except it goes to microG instead, because microG is actually named with the same. microG is actually named as a Google service, but the Google service is not actually there. It's a stub. Okay, so I mean, guys, I mean, I'm obviously pretty advanced here. I mean, I'm not going to go take somebody's word. I'm going to go look at the source code. Okay, I can do that. I can look at the source code. Say, oh, is it really doing what it's supposed to do? Let me look at the source code. Is Wi-Fi scanning actually safe? And I'm going to look at the source code. What I worry about is when I can't see the source code, then I know something fishy is going on, which is true of Google code. And that stub causes glitches. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, for example, payments. If you're doing payments, the stub will cause it to fail. Yes, that's true. It's true. So what? Not perfect, but Brax, you're not considering Google's side of microG. I don't know what you're talking about. microG is spoofing the store connections. Actually, the only thing, you may not even know this, but the only actual thing that microG does, it's actually two limited things. We're out of time here, so I'll just tell you this because you're kind of pushing this issue that you don't even understand here. microG only does two things. Okay, and you can disable both of them. One is automatically disabled. One of the things that it does, microG does, is NLP, which is the location tracking that I talk about in my location video. NLP, network location provider. microG by default has no NLP the way we install it, which means there's no Wi-Fi triangulation system installed on a phone. So that's why BraxOS doesn't work with GPS indoors, because there's no Wi-Fi triangulation. GPS doesn't work indoors. GPS only works outdoors. So indoors, it needs NLP, which is Wi-Fi triangulation. It doesn't exist on microG. Although you can install it, we do not install it on microG. So that's one out. That's one function of microG. Second function of microG is notifications. That's it. The rest are stubbed. So what the suck are you talking about? There's only two things it does: location, NLP, and well, there's a stub there for safety net. It's not a full stub though. It's like a partial forwarding that doesn't even actually work because it doesn't have signature. So for the most part, and I turn that off anyway. So the main function we turn off by default on BraxOS. So the only actual function of microG is for notifications, which is spoofed. Okay, so I don't need to worry about what some of you say. Okay, so we're down to 2 minutes. Well, first of all, for those of you who celebrate, Merry Christmas. I hope you have a great Christmas holiday, and I hope you get lots of presents and so on. And for those who celebrate Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah. And I also hope you get lots of presents. So I'm certainly going to be back here next week. I haven't made the video yet, but I got to make a video for you for next Wednesday, and then we'll do a live stream before New Year. So hopefully that goes according to plan. So let's see. Will Brax phone work in China? Yeah, Brax phone will work in China. I don't know why you ask, but yeah, of course it'll work in China. It comes from China. All phones are made in China. So why wouldn't it be working there? There's a similar phone. It's not exact the same, but the parts, the CoolPad, what is it? CoolPad, I think is the name of the phone. It has similar parts. It has the same case and the same motherboard. The other internals are different. So it's not the same exact model, but at least the form factor is the same. And so it has the same radio. So that's a Chinese phone and used in China. So obviously this will work in China. How to update Lineage. If you bought it from us, we can update it for you to go to a higher level version. If you didn't buy it from us, then you gotta do it yourself, as you did originally. Okay, I'm out of time, guys. So I will talk to you later on. And again, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and all the different holidays that might be important to you. I'm wishing you all the best. And please follow me on Twitter. So good night, guys. Bye-bye. So let me just turn off YouTube first.